5 more scary ghost stories to keep you awake at night. 1. The Woman in Blue, Greenwich. In the heart of Greenwich, London, the spectre of the Woman in Blue haunts the historic grounds of the old Royal Naval College and the Queen's House. This grand building, with its elegant, classical architecture, has seen centuries pass by, but it's the presence of this mysterious figure that keeps the past very much alive. The legend of the Woman in Blue dates back to the 17th century. Described as a young woman dressed in a flowing blue gown from the Georgian era, she is often seen wandering the grounds with an air of sadness about her. Her identity remains a mystery, but some historians believe she could be the spirit of a lady in waiting or a noblewoman who met a tragic end. The most popular theory is that she was a maid who, after a passionate affair with an officer stationed at the college, was cast aside and fell into despair, ultimately taking her own life. Another version suggests she was a victim of foul play, thrown from the upper floors of the Queen's house, her spirit forever bound to the spot where she died. Her presence is most often felt at the Tulip Stairs within the Queen's house, an elegant spiral staircase with a history just as twisted. In 1966, a reverend from Canada took a photograph of the staircase, only to discover later that he had captured the image of a ghostly figure clutching the railing, seemingly dressed in a blue or gray gown. The figure appeared to be staring out toward the heavens, her face contorted in anguish, as if eternally reaching out for help that would never come. Visitors have reported feeling an intense chill as they ascend the staircase, and some have even felt an invisible hand brush against their own, as if the Woman in Blue is still trying to grab hold of something, anything, to pull herself back to the world of the living. Her sobs have been heard echoing through the halls late at night, and those who have caught a glimpse of her say her eyes are filled with a sadness that lingers long after she has vanished. Whether she is searching for lost love, justice, or simply trying to make sense of her tragic fate, the Woman in Blue remains one of Greenwich's most haunting mysteries. 2. The London Tombs. Beneath the bustling streets of London lies a dark, terrifying secret, the London Tombs. Located at London Bridge, this site was originally a plague pit, where hundreds of victims of the bubonic plague were buried in mass graves during the 1600s. Over time, the area became a labyrinthine network of tunnels, catacombs, and crypts, filled with the remains of the dead. Today, it is a popular tourist attraction, but the spirits of those buried here have not been so quick to leave. As you descend into the darkness of the London Tombs, the air grows colder, and an unsettling sense of dread washes over you. Shadows seem to move on their own, and whispers can be heard echoing through the corridors. The most frequently reported apparition is that of a tall, shadowy figure dressed in black, known simply as the Plague Doctor. Witnesses describe him as wearing a long, black cloak and a beaked mask, his eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. He is often seen standing silently in the corner, as if watching and waiting, or moving slowly through the tunnels, as if he is still tending to the dying. Another spirit that lingers in the tombs is that of a young girl, often seen cowering in a corner or running through the dark passageways. She is thought to be one of the many children who perished during the plague. Those who have encountered her say they feel an overwhelming sense of sadness, as if the girl is desperately seeking comfort or protection. Sometimes, she reaches out, her small, pale hand brushing against visitors, leaving behind a chill that lingers long after they've left the tombs. Perhaps the most chilling experience reported in the London Tombs is the sound of scratching. Many have heard what seems to be fingernails scraping against stone, growing louder and more frantic, as if someone is desperately trying to claw their way out. It's a haunting reminder of the thousands who were buried alive, sealed away to die in the darkness, their spirits forever trapped in the labyrinth of death that lies beneath the city. 3. The Wailing Woman of Mexico City, La Llorona. The legend of La Llorona, or the Wailing Woman, is one of the most famous and tragic ghost stories in all of Latin America, and nowhere is her presence more profoundly felt than in Mexico City. According to folklore, La Llorona was once a beautiful woman named Maria who fell in love with a wealthy man. Together, they had 2 children, but over time, Maria's husband became distant and unfaithful. In a fit of rage and despair, Maria took her children to a nearby river and, in a moment of madness, drowned them. When she realized what she had done, she was overcome with grief and threw herself into the water, where she drowned as well. It is said that when Maria reached the afterlife, she was denied entry to heaven until she could find her lost children. Now, she wanders the earth as La Llorona, searching endlessly for them, wailing in sorrow and regret. Her ghostly cries of, "Ay, mis hijos, oh, my children," can be heard echoing through the night, often near bodies of water, sending chills down the spine of anyone who hears them. In Mexico City, La Llorona is most often seen near the canals of Xochimilco, where she is said to drift along the water, her long, white dress trailing behind her like mist. Those who encounter her describe her face as pale and gaunt, her eyes sunken and filled with an eternal sadness. Her hair hangs in wet, tangled strands, and her hands are often outstretched, as if reaching for something just out of reach. Many believe that hearing her cries is a bad omen, a sign that tragedy is near. Some have even reported seeing her approach, only for her face to suddenly twist into a grotesque, skeletal visage, as if her sorrow has transformed into something far more malevolent. The legend of La Llorona is a cautionary tale, a reminder of the consequences of unchecked rage and despair, and her mournful wails continue to echo through the streets and waterways of Mexico City, searching for the children she can never find. 4. The Screaming House of Union. In the small town of Union, Missouri, stands a house that has become infamous for the terrifying events that took place there in the 1990s. Known as the Screaming House, this seemingly ordinary home on North Christina Avenue was the site of one of the most intense and violent hauntings in American history. It all began when Stephen LaChance and his children moved into the house in 2001. Almost immediately, strange occurrences began to unfold. Doors would slam shut with incredible force, disembodied voices could be heard echoing through the hallways, and the house itself seemed to vibrate with an unseen energy. One night, as LaChance lay in bed, he heard a blood-curdling scream that seemed to come from within the walls themselves. The scream was so loud and so intense that it shook the entire house, leaving him paralyzed with fear. As the haunting grew more violent, LaChance and his family began experiencing physical attacks. They felt invisible hands grabbing and pushing them, and they would often wake up to find scratches and bruises on their bodies. The most terrifying experience occurred when LaChance saw a shadowy figure standing at the foot of his bed, its eyes glowing red in the darkness. It reached out toward him, and as he scrambled to turn on the light, the figure vanished, leaving behind a sense of pure malevolence. The family eventually fled the house, but the terror did not end there. Subsequent tenants reported similar experiences, and paranormal investigators who visited the property were subjected to attacks by unseen forces. The house's malevolent energy seems to feed on fear, and those who dare to enter can still hear the echoes of screams reverberating through its walls, as if the spirits trapped there are crying out for help that will never come. 5. St. Augustine Lighthouse Ghosts. Standing tall on the shores of St. Augustine, Florida, the St. Augustine Lighthouse is one of the oldest and most haunted structures in the United States. Built in 1874, it has been the site of numerous tragedies, and the spirits of those who lost their lives there continue to haunt the lighthouse and its grounds. One of the most well-known spirits is that of 2 young sisters, Eliza and Mary, who drowned tragically in 1873 while playing near the lighthouse construction site. They were riding in a cart that broke loose and plunged into the water, taking the girls with it. Today, visitors have reported hearing the giggles of children echoing through the lighthouse, and some have even seen the apparitions of 2 young girls in period clothing running and playing on the grounds, only to vanish when approached. The ghost of a former lighthouse keeper named Joseph Andreu is also said to haunt the tower. Andreu fell to his death while painting the exterior of the lighthouse in the late 1800s. Visitors have seen a shadowy figure climbing the stairs, only to disappear when they reach the top. Others have felt a sudden, icy chill as they ascend the spiral staircase, as if an invisible presence is watching their every step. Some have even felt the sensation of a hand brushing against them, as if the lighthouse keeper is still patrolling the tower, ensuring that all is in order. Another chilling encounter involves the apparition of a woman dressed in a long, flowing dress, often seen at the top of the lighthouse, peering out toward the ocean. Witnesses describe her as having long, dark hair and wearing clothing that seems to be from the late 19th century. She has been seen looking down from the top of the lighthouse, as if searching for something, or someone, that never returns. When visitors approach, she vanishes into thin air, leaving behind the scent of saltwater and the faint sound of footsteps echoing in the tower. The basement of the lighthouse keeper's house is said to be one of the most active areas for paranormal activity. Shadows flit across the walls, disembodied voices whisper in the darkness, and objects have been known to move on their own. Visitors have reported feeling a heavy, oppressive presence, as if something is lurking just out of sight, waiting to make itself known. One investigator captured an EVP, electronic voice phenomena, in the basement that clearly stated, "Get out," in a low, growling voice, sending shivers down the spine of anyone brave enough to listen. The St. Augustine Lighthouse is a place where history and the supernatural collide. It stands as a beacon to the past, drawing in visitors who seek to uncover its secrets. Those who venture into the lighthouse at night may find themselves face to face with the spirits that refuse to leave, trapped in an endless cycle of tragedy and longing, forever tied to the light that once guided them home. Conclusion. These tales remind us that the past is never truly gone, and that some spirits remain tethered to the world of the living, unable to find peace. Each haunting, each ghostly encounter, is a glimpse into the lives of those who have come before us, tragic reminders that the line between this world and the next is more fragile than we might think. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the shadows of the paranormal. If you enjoyed these stories and want to hear more, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated. Your support helps us continue to share these chilling tales from beyond the grave. Until next time, keep an eye on the darkness, and remember, sometimes, the things that go bump in the night are closer than you think.